Big Bend starts with wind. At Sotol Vista, it came in hard and cold, strong enough that we had to brace ourselves just to stay steady. The sunset lit the horizon, the ridgelines slid into shadow, and the desert cooled in minutes. And in that moment, you understand something. This place doesn't entertain you. It rescales you. Big Bend does not begin at the park entrance. It begins hours earlier when the map stops feeling like a plan and starts feeling like distance. Out here, the land is wide enough to quiet you down. And if you give it time, it gives you something rare in return. Scale, silence, and a sky you won't forget. We left Dallas at 7 in the morning and drove west, through Fort Worth, where the city thins out fast, through Abilene, where the highway straightens and the horizon opens, then into oil country, Midland, and Odessa, where pump jacks nod against the sky and the gas is cheap. Past there, something shifts. The road loosens. The industrial grid falls away. Alpine appears like a pause, a ranching town holding onto the edge of something bigger. And then Terlingua, where the desert begins in earnest. By late afternoon, we entered Big Bend through the Maverick entrance and followed a portion of the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive, a 30-mile route that carries you through some of the park's most distinctive geology. We arrived with enough light left for a hike. Blue Creek starts with desert understatement, color held back, sound pared down. The trail moves through Creosote and Ocotillo, past the remains of the Homer Wilson Ranch, begun in 1928. A reminder that desert life is hard. The ground was pale rock and dry grass, the kind of terrain that looks simple until you notice how much of it is alive. We hiked a few miles, just enough to let the park introduce itself. Then turned back toward the road to catch the last light. At Sotol Vista, we braved the wind and cold to watch the sun dip beneath the horizon as ridgelines moved into shadow and the desert turned to night. Afterward, we drove into Terlingua for a rustic dinner at the High Sierra Bar and Grill, then headed out to our campsite at Coyote Crossing. We set up in the dark and huddled outside for a while, looking up. Big Bend is designated an International Dark Sky Park, and the Park Service describes it as having some of the darkest night skies in the lower 48. The stars come alive here. All right, so we just car camped outside of a little town called Terlingua, and it's near Big Bend National Park. We're gonna go in and explore, do some hiking. Right now, we're just getting up and getting all the gear and getting things together. Gonna eat a little breakfast. It's 28 degrees this morning, but it's supposed to warm up to 60. Classic Texas temperature ranges. Sun's shining, sky's blue. See your breath in the air. All right, we'll see you later. Then we headed back out on the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive. This was our full day. 3 stops, 3 hikes, 3 different ways the desert tells its story. First, Tuff Canyon. The overlook is brief, but the view reads like a cross-section of the park's past. The canyon cuts down through layers of volcanic ash and darker rock, a landscape built in strata and revealed by water. It is not dramatic in the way a waterfall is dramatic. It is quieter than that. But standing there, you understand the desert has a long memory. Then we continued our journey along the winding drive towards Santa Elena Canyon. where 1,500-foot limestone cliffs meet the Rio Grande, and the border is revealed as a river moving between two countries. Santa Elena is 8 miles long. In places, the canyon narrows to only 30 feet wide. The Rio Grande carved it over time, cutting down through lower Cretaceous limestone, rock that resisted erosion and held its shape while softer material washed away. We hiked into the canyon on a trail cut into the cliff face just above the river. The rock was cool where we touched it for balance. Footsteps echoed. The river moved below us, slow and steady, and Mexico felt close enough to touch. The walls rose on both sides, narrowing the sky to a ribbon overhead. For a stretch, we walked in shadow. The air was cooler there. Sound behaved differently. Voices carried farther, then flattened against the stone. It felt like walking inside something that existed long before us and will outlast us by the same margin. After Santa Elena, we found a quiet picnic spot near the river and sat down to eat, enjoying the peace of presence. After lunch, we got back on the road toward our next hike. Pausing along the way to admire Goat Mountain, a jagged reminder of Big Bend's volcanic past. Hey.
Hey!
We're out here at the Chimneys Trail. It's a couple miles out and back. We're out here fully exposed. A lot of sunshine, big blue sky, cool temps. Perfect day for a hike. Anyway, we're just gonna see what's out there. We'll let you know. The trail crosses open desert, and there is a lot of it. We slowly made our way toward a volcanic dike that cuts across the desert floor. It is rock that forced its way up through fractures below the surface, then cooled and hardened underground before it ever reached open air. Over time, the softer surrounding material wore away, leaving these formations standing. All right, we're almost there. It's really beautiful out here. These big rocks behind us. That's where we're headed. See you shortly. Near the southernmost chimney, there is rock art, painted images, carvings worn smooth by wind. The Park Service notes that some of the oldest marks here are several thousand years old. We climbed up on the rocks to see it up close. This is not a museum label behind glass. It is a human trace, placed in the desert and part of its history. All right, we made it to the destination at the end of Chimneys Trail. Stephanie's standing in the arch back there. It looks out to the rock behind her. That's where we see the pictographs and petroglyphs. We saw those, they were pretty cool. On the way back, we slowed down and started noticing the small details. The shapes, the spines, the stubborn geometry of desert plants. All right, so we just explored all those rocks. It was super cool. Found all the cool little Indian spots where they probably hung out and their kids, drew on the walls and stuff. It was awesome. It's really rugged and wild out here. It feels like being in a Western. But anyway, we're heading back, and I just want to show you some cactus along the way. I said there's a lot of species we've seen. So we will start right here. I can't name any of these things right now, but I can at least show them to you. Yeah, as you can see, the ground, surrounding land here is just covered in desert plant life. Okay, and there's lots and lots of cacti like these guys. Lots of colors, green, orange, more green, different shades of purple. Look at those guys. Super cool, really beautiful. Some more green. Yeah, not really sure exactly what these ones are, but they're pretty, they're cool, so just thought I'd show those as well. Then we got these things. Just long stalks stretching up to the sky. Spiny, thorny. Yeah, it's just a cool grove. I think we've already seen these, but I like this this grove through here of cacti. Also kind of like saying cacti. Yeah, just real wild out here in the desert. So many plants, different varieties. What's this thing out here? Some kind of desert palm. All right. Turning this into a nature hike. Just bringing you along with the along the journey. Seeing it as we see it. All right, Steph?
Hey, what's happening?
All right, here's that little guy down here. Looks like some hikers put rocks around it to protect it. So people want to step on it and crush it. Yeah, some more fun stuff down here. Almost blends into the rocks. Oh, there's some good color. Yeah, it's like the colors going on there. It's nice. Here's another one of those little cacti. Yeah, look at that guy. Cute little thing. Protected with the rocks. Shout out to all the fellow hikers out there taking care of nature. Yeah, here's some nice fuzzy ones. A little group of them. Look at those things. Yeah, those are elusive. Only one or two of those on the whole trail. What do we got here? Found one more. Yeah, I like this guy. There's only, I guess this is the second one on the trail. We're almost back. But yeah, that's a cool one. Again, don't know what it is, but it's pretty. All alone out here in the desert. All right, coming off the trail, we did it. Thumbs up. Now to go get some hard-earned food. Time to eat.
See ya.
Later, we learned what we had been walking past all day. Prickly pear, ocotillo, cholla, lechuguilla, and more. By the end of the day's adventures, we had hiked 8.5 miles in total. We felt we had earned a sense of the desert side of Big Bend, wind, sun, distance, and the quiet beauty of this landscape. We ended the day back in Terlingua at Milagro and ordered a dish containing prickly pear cactus, a taste of the desert, which felt fitting after spending hours walking among it. Then it was back to camp for stars and sleep, with temperatures that had swung from the high 20s to the low 60s, then cooling back down again under a sky that stayed clear. We woke again to cold air, 28 degrees, same as the day before. We packed up and headed toward Panther Junction to exit through Persimmon Gap. This trip was too short to explore the eastern trails, so we drove that section as passage rather than destination, with a pause at the visitor center, then watching the landscape shift as the Chizos Mountains receded in the mirror. On the way home, we made one planned stop, Marathon, population just over 400, to see the Gage Hotel. The hotel officially opened for business in April of 1927. Alfred Gage commissioned El Paso architect Henry Trost to design it in a Mission and Spanish-style tradition. Thick walls, arches, courtyards built to hold shade. After 2 days of car camping and rugged exploration across sand and rock, the Gage was a more civilized experience. The space was beautiful in its rustic desert style. The resort grounds include a courtyard and pool, a restaurant and bar, and the V6 coffee bar, where we enjoyed a Mexican mocha, espresso layered with cinnamon, nutmeg, and a hint of chili heat.
We walked through the Gage Gardens, 27 acres of native plantings, ponds, and fountains. Gravel paths wound between desert willow, Texas sage, and prickly pear, all arranged with intention. Water features ran through the gardens, creating a tranquil, shaded space. It was designed as an oasis, and it functioned as one. The Gage is not trying to erase the desert. It is built to acknowledge it and then to offer something softer for a while. From Marathon, we drove east. The light faded as we reached Fort Worth for a dinner stop at the legendary Joe T. Garcia's. By the time we reached Dallas, it was dark. Legs stiff, skin tight from sun and wind, carrying the smell of desert dust, ready to shower and sleep with the pleasant memory of another great trip. Big Bend is not easy to reach. That is part of what makes it worth it. The drive is not a detour from the experience. It is the first chapter, the slow approach that teaches you what distance means before the desert shows you what scale is. And out there, the natural beauty does not announce itself. It unfolds.